Dakota Wood, who's standing by. He's the senior researcher. Months now out of Saudi in the Middle East. A missile has hit an American cargo ship in the Red Sea. In the Middle East, a missile has hit an American cargo ship in the Red Sea. That's according to U.S. Central Command. The missile was fired by the Houthi rebels. They are an anti-Israeli group that are based in Yemen. Now, the ship sustained only minor damage. No injuries were reported on board, fortunately. The Houthis, though, have been targeting key international shipping routes for months now, out of solidarity, as they see it, with Palestinians in Gaza. It's an attempt by the Houthis to try and pressure Israel to stop their war. The Houthis are getting their advanced weapons from Iran. On the weekend, Houthi rebels fired an anti-ship cruise missile toward an American destroyer in the Red Sea. Last week, remember, American and British naval forces launched a series of counterstrikes on Houthi targets in Yemen after weeks of warning them to stop attacking commercial vessels. All right, let's bring in Dakota Wood, who's standing by. He's the Senior Research Fellow for Defense Programs at the Heritage Foundation, a leading think tank in the U.S., also former American military. Dakota, good to see you on this Monday.
Hey, it's great to be with you. Thanks.
All right. Are you surprised at all that the Houthis have not stopped their attacks?
No, and I don't think anybody should be surprised. I mean, they've been, in a war with Saudi Arabia. I mean, against the government that they've displaced there in Yemen, but the Saudis have been fighting them for 10 years. So, one strike package, as robust as it was from the U.S. and the U.K., was not going to force the Houthis to change their pattern. Rethink things a bit, but certainly not give it up. So I think it's going to have to be a series of these back and forths. And I think that the strike packages by the U.S. and whomever else elects to join in that will really have to be of that scale or larger to beat back the Houthi capabilities. Because, they're in it for the long term. They've got lots of resources. Iran is a backer. Iran is a near nuclear state. So one instance of a multi-target sort of strike is just not going to force the Houthis to really change anything.
We're going to show a map of the region, Dakota. You're familiar with the area. Just for our viewers here in Canada, to give them a sense of what we're talking about, you see Yemen there on your screen, that sort of choke point there where the Middle East meets Africa. That's the area in particular right around the Gulf of Aden that the Houthis have been targeting. The American strategy moving forward, what do you think we're going to see? More strikes, more targeting of Houthi targets in Yemen? What's your forecast?
No, I think that you've hit those points right there. About 15 to 17% of all international at-sea traffic moves through that area. So you can see how critical that choke point is. And of course, Yemen extends up to the north and east a bit further toward the Persian Gulf. So all this ship traffic, which you can track on the web, goes through there. Insurance companies are very concerned because there's a lot of money tied up in ownership of the ship, and especially in the cargo. And so Lloyd's of London and Maersk and others, are rerouting things, which just increases cost. So as long as the Houthis view this as a lever, that they increase the economic cost, all the countries who may be supporting Israel, they're going to try to leverage that. And they do it for their own reasons, but also at the behest of the prodding of Iran. So it's a region-wide, almost global sort of stage. And it's just going to require the West and those who have an economic interest to stay involved and engaged. That takes people, it takes ships, it takes every time a missile comes off of a U.S. warship, it's $2 million. So this is not an inexpensive sort of thing, but what are the alternatives? So I think we'll see this for an extended period of time.
Interesting as well to think that, Yemen is a desperately poor country, as you know. The Houthis are basically rebels. There's not a lot of targets to be hit. And in fact, to a certain extent, there are those who say they're getting exactly what they want. They are now being talked about in news programs like this one. They're getting more recognition. They're being seen by some in the Arab world as heroes defending Palestinians.
No, I think those are great points. Al-Qaeda had the same thing, Islamic State, a lot of the Islamist, violent extremist organizations do this. They take on very large targets. They don't have any chance of defeating, the United States or Great Britain or Germany or anything like that. but it gets them a lot of popular support, striking these blows against the great Satan or whatever. So money, prestige, power, influence that they wouldn't have otherwise. So here is another incentive. And this point that you make, I think, is really great about kind of how minimalistic they are. They don't control major cities. There's not some grand economy that you can bring to its knees. And so what do you hit? And yet military power seems to be the currency of the realm and that part of the world. So U.S. flies a multi-million-dollar aircraft that drops a multi-thousand-dollar bomb on a truck that might cost a few $1,000s. But if you don't do that, then the Houthis continue to fire these missiles provided by Iran to international shipping, which can result in millions, hundreds of millions, or billions of dollars in losses. So there is this economic imbalance, but it's the nature of the Western world and how we live our lives and the nature of international commerce, and geography really matters, as you pointed out on the map.
Dakota Wood with the Heritage Foundation joining us. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for this.